Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 8 just revealed the best but worst moment all in one, as our boys Einar and Thorfinn, after working so hard to build a field so they could sell some wheat, it was destroyed by the retainers, and in a fit of rage, it wasn't Einar, but Thorfinn breaks one of their faces and causes an all-out brawl. It is the best moment because it's so satisfying to see these scumbags finally get something they deserve. But it's the worst moment knowing that they're slaves, and attacking them in that way, honestly, unless our former slave buddy who's investigating this finds some proof, this could be very bad news for both of them. But man, every time I say I can't like this show anymore, another episode comes out, and prior to the big reveal of their field being destroyed, this was, by all accounts, a slower episode, but my eyes glued to the screen, my headphones all the way in. I need to hear every little detail, from the sound effects to the VAs and their amazing performances, and an episode all about a boy who lived only having hate in his heart, feeling so empty, not knowing what life is without it. This was another 10 out of 10 Vinland Saga episode. Now, if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts to today's insanely polished episode, do head on over to my Patreon and consider supporting, as man, this show continues to be one of my personal favorites alongside that To Your Eternity greatness. Love the fact that they're not shying away from what characters have done. When we look at Thorfinn from the very beginning of this show, he was a boy who wanted to be a proud warrior, and very quickly into his life, became a kid who had nothing but hate in his heart, wanting to kill the man who killed his father, and since that removal, because obviously he wasn't one to kill him, he has nothing left but feeling empty. And honestly, I love what Beth's grandpa says, like, someone like who's all empty has the most potential to fill and start again. But when you look at it from, he was such a young boy that for a decade, he literally followed some of the worst people imaginable, who pillaged, who did such horrible things to villages, exactly what happened to Einar's village. So initially when he starts to try to calm him down from a point of like, if you hate them, I'm 300 times worse and deserve 300 times more punishment than what they just did. And you can't deny it, it's true. The fact that Vinland Saga doesn't go the route of trying to justify previous actions, like, yes, we see circumstances in terms of what caused him to follow a lunatic and honestly became a bloodthirsty killer of a kid. But the fact remains, he has things to feel guilty about. The fact that he's haunted by that woman, it was towards the end of season 1, if memory serves correctly, in terms of she looked at him like this, innocent boy, don't do anything wrong, and then just the fact that he was on the side that wiped her entire village. If I'm not mistaken, her head also got cut off at one point. I love how the memories haunt him, and it feels realistic, like this PTSD eating away at him. And to look at someone like Einar, really the first person I can honestly remember who just feels like a good family member for him, not someone who's trying to encourage killing, yet, yes, he did encourage violence at the end, but I think that was a very human reaction of a slave trying to buy his freedom and losing everything, because it's not even just like they lost that harvest. They literally will have to go into debt to get seeds for the next year. They literally have nothing. All the hope and progress just completely crumbled before their eyes. That type of rage feels human. It's not the same way as, oh, we're going to go destroy an innocent village, or we're not going to just go plunder. Sometimes people like to make the argument, well, that's just a true Viking, or that's just a true that. It doesn't change the fact that it's scummy and it's not right just because it makes them a true Viking or a true warrior for the time period. The show isn't trying to justify it. It's just trying to say this is what different sections of the world would do in this time period. But was it good and righteous? No, and it's not trying to justify it by any means. And I like the fact that from the concept of slavery to the concept of a boy wanting revenge for his father and the inhuman acts he did along that journey, I like the fact that they don't shy away. They don't try to paint things as black or white. They just say, this is a very complex yet messed up world. And I honestly thought the production went extra in. The first 3 minutes before the opening kicks in, we have him in his nightmare. Normally he doesn't remember his dreams, so we're actually kind of making progress where he's actually reflecting after he wakes up and is able to maybe consider the fact of what's keeping him up at night, sort of a thing. The fact that he's climbing up this wall and it's in first person, you see how worn his hand is, and then almost the bodies maybe of the people that he's wronged in his life, or just the demons coming to get him, the fact that they're snapping his fingers, they're clawing at his legs. The immersive details that this show goes into is so next level. You can just have some 3D camera work going through the woods to just really show you the beauty of nature. You can have a first-person camera of a boy climbing up trying to escape his nightmare but just gets pulled right back down. And the fact that in his nightmare he literally has like the younger version of himself going into Einar as when he was a kid to just do the same thing that he's always done throughout his life. While it's true he wasn't responsible for Einar's village being destroyed not once but twice, it doesn't change the fact that he's done exactly that to other people. And I think the fact that you have that relationship, and I mean, we rewind a few episodes back, the strangling scene, right? But the fact remains that people can change. Like, that's what he's trying to get across to him. But it's no wonder that anyone would freak out at the end. In a perfect world, what would have happened? They would have took a different way. They would have avoided talking to them on the road. Maybe our former slave buddy would find proof that they did it, they would be punished. Right now, best case scenario, he finds proof that they were responsible, but I wouldn't be shocked if they still get punished for dislocating our boy's face. It wasn't even just the jaw, it felt like his face got dislocated. So honestly, I don't know what the future holds for them. Obviously, Thorfinn can't die next episode for this, because obviously I don't see the story continuing as such. But it doesn't change the fact that sometimes punishments can be worse than just a swift execution. All I hope is that their deal for potential freedom doesn't go up in smoke, because you never quite know with a show like this. We know King Canute is out there, so even if they did remove the chance of them buying their freedom, potentially there's an invasion on the way that would change course of the show. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But was this a 10 out of 10 Vinland episode? Of course it was. The show and season in general has been as such, just as season 1 was. It may be different in tone and structure, but it doesn't change the emotional weight, the maturity, the themes and thought-provoking aura that this show gives off, and I wouldn't have it any other way. When you have the concept of a season just being characters farming and trying to buy their freedom, it can go in two very different directions. What we're seeing with season 2 and these moral dilemmas and these thought-provoking concepts, or it could have just been a slice of life that underplayed the situation. And I'm so glad that not only this author knows what they're doing when they're writing this subject matter, but the fact that this team, it may be two different studios at face value, but it's the same core team that worked on both seasons 1 and 2, and they are giving it their all. It truly feels like a passion project, and I love this. And I'm already excited for the potential of a season 3 and what that would do to change course, similar to how season 2 just changed course from season 1. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. There is a lot to break down. To me, this was hands down like the best and worst moment combined into one. But let me know what you're thinking down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And of course, as I mentioned, I do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon. While you're there, you can also get yourself a video shoutout. So today, we have Kryto, Morrud, Nergareth, Ricardo Pelego, Samuel Valdez, Patrick Harris, and Michael Goodley. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.